The stars of Lilo and Stitch are definitely the ones in the title. Stitch, the mischievous alien, and Lilo, the quirky little girl who adopts the alien. But have you ever stopped to think that Nani might actually be the most complex character in this whole story? This becomes even more clear when you notice a detail in her bedroom that doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but it's actually really disturbing when you think about it. This detail shows up in the 2002 animated movie when Lilo walks into her older sister's bedroom. The room itself looks pretty normal, but if you look closely, you'll see trophies and medals on Nani's shelf. And these aren't just regular awards you get from winning a math competition, which would still be awesome by the way. Some of them are statues of surfers on surfboards. That can only mean one thing: Nani won all of those trophies by competing in surfing tournaments. And we're not just talking about one or two contests, but several. That's a clear sign that she's seriously great at surfing. She took a part in a bunch of competitions and ended up in first place more than once, since the trophies are gold and that's the color reserved for winners. Second place usually gets silver, and third place gets bronze. And even though this detail is easier to spot in the animated version, the fact that she has several trophies is also mentioned in the live-action remake. The difference is that we learn about it from a line Lilo says when she shows Stitch the family photo album. So in both versions, it's made pretty clear that Nani had serious surfing talent, and winning tournaments in a place like Hawaii, where there's tons of skilled surfers, is no easy feat. That idea is reinforced in the beach scenes when Nani gets a chance to surf again. But if you think about it, that's literally the only time she surfs in the whole movie. She doesn't get the chance to do it again because she's too busy working and taking care of her little sister. Doesn't that suggest something else? Think about it. Someone that talented probably wasn't surfing just for fun. She likely dreamed of becoming a professional surfer. And with all those wins, Lilo's big sister clearly had the skills to make that happen. But when we look at both the animated film and the live-action version, we see that she's too busy picking up odd jobs just to get by. And the reason for that is actually pretty heartbreaking. So get ready to ride this wave. It's time for another episode of Cinewave. Nani truly had the potential to become a professional surfer, and it seems like she actually tried to follow that dream for a while by entering multiple competitions. But everything changed when a terrible tragedy hit. Her parents passed away in a car accident. That's not really a secret, since both the original film and the remake reveal that detail. Still, it's easy to overlook just how much that event changed Nani's entire life. Because of the accident, she didn't just become Lilo's sister, she had to step up and take on the role of both mom and dad. Even though she was only 18 at the time, Nani suddenly had a massive responsibility on her shoulders, all while dealing with her own grief from losing their parents. And on top of all that emotional weight, she also had to fight even harder because a social worker was constantly watching her, trying to take custody of Lilo and send her into adoption, which would have been heartbreaking, especially since there was a real chance that Lilo would end up with a family who wasn't even from Hawaii. Plus, Nani obviously didn't want to be separated from her little sister. All of this is hinted at in the animated movie, although some of it is left up to our interpretation. The live-action version digs deeper into Nani's struggles, with more focus on her relationship with Lilo. But one thing the original emphasizes more is Nani's fear of losing custody of Lilo, especially since the only social worker we see is Cobra Bubbles, and he's seriously intimidating. That's very different from the remake, where the main social worker is Miss Kakoa, a woman who clearly just wants the best for the Pelikai family. And the ending of the remake takes things in a very different direction, but we'll get to that in a bit. Oh, and if you like the new take on this Hawaiian adventure, drop a comment below with #remake. The worst thing that came with the accident that took Nani and Lilo's parents away wasn't just the responsibility of taking care of Lilo. Sure, that made things a lot harder, especially since Nani was still young and way too inexperienced to handle something like that. But without a doubt, the biggest challenge of all was having to financially support the household without any help from their parents. Nani had just finished high school and hadn't gone to college, which meant she was only able to get part-time jobs or other low-paying gigs. That's made pretty clear by the fact that she works as a waitress at a restaurant. And here's the heartbreaking part. If she had pursued a career as a professional surfer, she could have made a lot of money. But becoming an athlete is complicated and requires full dedication long before you ever start making money from it. Since Nani needed a steady income right away to feed her sister, that path was pretty much off the table. That's why the moment Nani loses her job at the restaurant is so intense. The first thing she does is scramble desperately to find another way to make money. Otherwise, she and Lilo would soon have nothing to eat. So yeah, you really can't blame her for being frustrated with Stitch when his antics mess up her job search, right? Also, we need to keep in mind that the Pelikai family lives in Hawaii, an extremely touristy place. And you know what tourist hotspots also are? Crazy expensive to live in. The bills Nani has to pay are probably sky high, and that's the main reason she's always exhausted from overworking and barely has time to take care of the house or spend time with her little sister. Disney was actually pretty bold in bringing such heavy and tragic themes into a kids' movie, and the live-action remake tried to preserve that, although in a slightly different way. Everything mentioned above applies to both the 2002 animated film and the 2025 live-action adaptation. But there's one specific detail in the new movie that changes things a bit. In this version, we find out that Nani's real dream is to become a marine biologist. In other words, she's not aiming to be a pro surfer. So does that mean all those trophies were from her surfing just as a hobby? The film doesn't make that clear, but the truth is that her dream of studying marine biology could have come after she gave up on becoming a surfer. One of those careers is way harder to pursue than the other, since just taking care of Lilo was already making it hard for her to study marine biology. Trying to build a surfing career was even further out of reach. But things really do change in the ending of the newer version. In the animated film, Cobra Bubbles ultimately decides to let Nani keep custody of her sister and the two continue living together, now alongside Stitch, Lee, and Jumba, and even getting help from David. This allows Nani to find a bit of balance in her life, juggling her responsibilities as Lilo's guardian with her own personal goals. Still, poor Nani has to work way harder than the average person just to keep the household running, which we see in several episodes of Lilo and Stitch the series. And most of all, she never really got the chance to become a surfing champion or even look for a job that brought her any kind of deeper satisfaction beyond a paycheck. It really seems like she gave up on her dreams permanently because of Lilo, and honestly, that's kinda sad. Meanwhile, our dream is to keep making fun videos about your favorite animated stories, so how about clicking that subscribe button to always stay updated with our content?
Are we there yet?
In the live-action universe, Nani's story ends a bit differently. Instead of continuing to fight for custody of her little sister, Nani is convinced to give that up, but only after Lilo herself agrees that it's the best thing to do. So in the end, the one who takes custody of the little girl is their neighbor, a brand new character created for the remake who already has a great relationship with the Pelikai family. Because of that, Nani finally gets the chance to pursue her dream of becoming a biologist and goes off to college outside of Hawaii. Quite a twist, right? According to Dean Flesher Camp, the director of the remake, his idea was to expand on the original film's concept of Ohana, that Ohana isn't just about biological family, which had already been touched on with Stitch and the other aliens becoming a part of Lilo's family, but also that when the characters talk about never leaving each other behind, it doesn't mean they literally have to stay together forever. I mean, how is it fair for Nani to give up her dreams and her youth to take on a responsibility that she was never supposed to have in the first place? On top of that, they'd both be stuck living in financial hardship for the rest of their lives, unless they moved away from Hawaii. Once Nani finishes college, she'll be in a much better position to find a good job and support Lilo. And if that weren't enough, she even gets a teleportation device so she can visit her sister anytime she wants. So college doesn't even really stop them from seeing each other. But let's be real, the movie totally added that just so we wouldn't cry about the sisters being apart. Disney used to be way more ruthless, huh? Even so, it seems like Nani never went back to chasing her dream of being a surfer, probably for the reasons we already mentioned. Going to college offers a more reliable path to success, while a career in sports is way more unpredictable and requires a lot more time and energy to actually make it. So yeah, it looks like that's one dream Nani is leaving behind, no matter what universe we're in. We've got 2 awesome videos waiting for you on the screen. Want to keep hanging out with us? Then just click on one of them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time!